Golf, as we all know, is incredibly expensive. You have everything from clubs and balls to the actual clothes and then the tee times itself. So let's talk about ways where you can actually save money to be able to play more and more golf, or at least be able to fit it into your budget a lot better. So first off, let's talk about some of the equipment pieces. So right now, what do I have in my hand? I have a Titleist Pro V1 golf ball. It is the number one ball in the world pretty much at this point, but there's a ton of more balls on the market that are going to be more price competitive and that are more direct to consumer than Titleist. And some people prefer these over these balls. Those companies would be like a Snell or a Vice, and there's even some more premium brands that are selling in the Dick's Sporting Goods of the world that are a little bit cheaper, i.e., the new Maxfly golf ball, which is being played on both the PGA Tour and LPGA this year. So, if you are looking for a way to save money because these things get lost all the time, that could be a way for you to actually get a little bit more out of your budget. Because $55 to $60 for a dozen of these, you can get anywhere between 30 to $45 for a very, very good golf ball that is still going to put you in a real competitive, positive competitive situation there. So definitely look at some of those alternative golf balls. The other thing to look at is gloves. Gloves are incredibly expensive. These are the ones that I use for my practice. These are the Dynagrip Elites from MG Golf. And the reason why I went with these is because I practice a ton. I go through a ton of gloves, and using some of the more premium FootJoy, Titleist, Callaway gloves that are $25 a piece, that just adds up really quickly. So I was able to buy 10 of these for $95. And I have to say the quality is incredible. There's a ton of companies that make these. Even the Kirkland glove from Costco is really good. So if you're looking for gloves, definitely look at some of these brands like MG. Look at the Kirkland one to save a little bit of money. And then if you want to save money and still play a premium glove, use the premium glove for play and use these for practice. That's another easy way to save money on equipment. And let's talk about bags and clubs themselves. So obviously, secondhand is going to be the cheapest way you're going to find golf clubs. The downside to buying secondhand, though, is you don't know the fit, and sometimes you don't know what the quality of the club is itself because the specs might not be as available to you if you're buying on Marketplace, or if you're buying through Second Swing. You have some good specs out there, but you still have to buy it and get it shipped, and still going to be charged at a premium. So if you know your specs, buying used is always going to be the way to go, unless you really want something brand new. So that's something to look at. If you're looking at golf bags or even push carts, something to look at is actually Facebook Marketplace. If you look at Marketplace, you'll find bags, really good bags that are basically brand new for super cheap. Now, for some extent, beggars can't be choosers. You might not find the exact bag you want, but it'll still be something that will be high quality that you can carry, put in a cart, whatever. It'll last you quite a long time. So make sure to take a look at that, especially for push carts. Push carts are really expensive. Like a new click gear these days is anywhere between like 300 to $400. And so you're able to find some of the older models for less than $100 that are still have a ton of life in them. So I'd recommend going that route if you're going to buy something like a push cart. Okay, let's talk about golf clothes. So golf clothes are always going to be really debated because everyone has their favorite brands, what they like to wear, what they don't like to wear. But if you want to buy high quality clothes at a cheaper price, there's a couple ways to do that. So right now I'm wearing a B Dratty shirt. B Dratty makes incredibly good outerwear. I really like their stuff. I actually bought this through their end of season randomizer. So what they do is they send up packs of kind of overstock every year, and they do a pretty steep discount on them. So whenever they do those sales, I always buy 2 packs to kind of refresh for the season. And sometimes you come up with duplicates if you buy multiple packs, but it's another way to get additional gear. And a ton of different companies do this, not just Be Dratty, but these are the ones that I really like, so I'll buy these. The other thing to do is to check TJ Maxx and some of these overstock stores, because we've seen everything from like Peter Millar to Be Dratty to Holderness and Bourne there at a way cheaper price. So very high quality gear, but at a cheaper price. So don't be afraid to go into TJ Maxx and take a look there for clothes in particular, and sometimes even pants. You can find some really good deals there. Now, when it gets to shoes, shoes come out seasonally. And so what I always do if I'm going to buy net new shoes for me is I'm going to buy them at the end of the season going into next year. I really like the FootJoy Premiers, which is kind of their higher end model of shoe, but I can buy them for 100 to $150 off if I wait till the end of the season and buy the previous season style. Same shoes, same quality, fantastic quality, but I'm able to get it at a more affordable price. So just being knowledgeable of like, hey, this season's going to be over soon. I should wait to buy stuff until after that season's over. You'll find some really great deals there. All right, and finally, let's talk about the golf itself. So there's two different ways to think about playing. If you play a ton, like you say you're playing 2 to 3 times a week, at some point the math might be better for you to actually get either a club membership, so a private membership, depending on how expensive they are, or to get a quote unquote membership at a public golf course. If you do the math out, think about okay, you're doing 2 to 3 rounds a week, you're paying for range balls, and you're doing practice sessions. Add all that up, look at what the dues would cost you at that golf course, and look at the actual equipment and practice facilities you'll get there. Sometimes you'll actually find a really good value because the practice facilities could be a lot nicer, the course could be a lot nicer, and so you end up paying less or similar as a cost per round model for a private club. Now, that's not going to be true in every single region of the United States, but that was my initial methodology when I joined my club. Was I was playing 2 to 3 times a week and practicing a whole ton, and so I was able to actually make the math work initially when I joined my club. Now, the public course membership option is interesting because what they essentially allow you to do is pay either upfront for a year or a monthly fee to get kind of full access, unlimited tee times, range balls, all that fun stuff in the same way you would with a private membership, but it's just at a public golf course. And sometimes those can be really cost effective. For example, there's a golf course up in Lincoln near me where the full, I think it's called the Summit membership, is $350 a month, and you get unlimited golf and unlimited range balls, and you get use of their private back range. And that can be a really good value for someone who's in the area. Now, for me who doesn't live near that area, there's doesn't make sense to me, and I wouldn't necessarily do that. But if you do live in the area, look at those options. They usually have them on the website, and it could be a really good value. Now, the downside to doing the private membership and even the public membership is that you're kind of forced to play in one place all the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you like variety, this might not be the decision for you. And then let's talk about even just getting cheaper tee times as a whole. So obviously, if you go into the later rates, the twilight rounds are always going to be cheaper than the early morning rounds. But a lot of the times, the course is backed up and it can take longer. So I understand why people wouldn't want to do that. There's sometimes players rewards where you play there, you get a certain amount of rounds and you get a free tee time or free card or something like that. That could be an option. And the other option is to look at some of the online tee time. I guess, websites like Golf Now. Now, the upside to using something like a Golf Now is they have what we're called typically hot tee times, meaning that they're selling these tee times at a discount in comparison to the off the rack rate. And so that's always something to look at because you can find some tee times that include carts for cheaper than if you're buying off the rack. Like I played Whitney Oaks, a golf course not too far from me, for $50, late morning with a cart versus the same time off the rack. If I was buying it through Whitney Oaks, it would be closer to 70, $75. So there are some ways to save money there. If you are willing to adventure around and actually search for them in terms of tee times. Now those hot tee times are limited. That is going to be the difficult piece. Is sometimes you might not have any, but it is always an option. So I hope some of these tips were helpful in terms of having to save money while playing golf. If you like this video, like it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.